Okay, that one's done. I agree with you. For those online, we're just waiting for one more commissioner to join, I believe, online, and we'll be to start at 4.
Hey, Amy, can you send me the meeting link? I'm gonna stick something in the chat.
Do you want to share it, or I can? Do you need me now? See if you want it. All right. I believe there is corner.
Can everybody hear us?
Yes.
Thank you. Well, we'll call to order this September 16th Parks and Recreation Commission. Thank you all for attending. We'll go ahead and get started with roll call. See who's here and who's not. I'm here. Commissioner Kerr, I believe is here. Commissioner Heath.
Here.
Commissioner Layden.
Here.
And we have Commissioner Martin. We do that. Commissioner Stafford.
He was the one that responded. Well.
Okay. And then like we have Councilmember Harris. Welcome, council member.
Here.
Thank you. Yeah, our land acknowledgement. The Flagstaff Parks and Recreation Commission humbly acknowledges the ancestral homelands of this area's indigenous nations and original stewards. These lands, still inhabited by native descendants, border mountains sacred to the indigenous peoples. We honor them, their legacies, their traditions, and their continued contributions. We celebrate their past, present, and future generations who will forever know this place as home. Excellent. Actually didn't see the minutes posted, so I'm not sure we can review those. Those come across on the agenda.
Let's take a look at that and see if they're there.
So I think we should pass over that.
Hang on, we're checking on that. Yeah. There we are. Yes. They're there. Do you want me to share them?
Yeah, can you share?
Okay. Yep, let me pull them up.
Were other commissioners able to retrieve them and review them?
Other commissioners, were you able to see the minutes from last month's meeting?
Yes.
Here's what I got shown.
Let me share them if you'd like, share,
It's not necessary, I can take a little bit.
or do you want to take a motion? Yeah, up to you.
Um,
And let's speak up because we're seeing a note that it's hard to hear.
okay, sorry about that. I'm probably turning away from it too. If you've had a chance to review the minutes from the August meeting, if you have nothing further to add or comment on, then we could take a motion to approve. If someone wants to forward that motion. Anyone have a motion?
Oh, I'll motion to approve the minutes
Correct.
from the last meeting.
Motion from Commissioner Heath. Do it. Can I have a second?
Anyone?
I'll make a motion to a second.
Can you all hear us online? Can I please have confirmation from each commissioner?
I can hear you. This is Councilwoman Harris.
Thank you. What about commissioners? I know Commissioner Heath, you can hear, Commissioner Layden, can you hear us?
Yeah, it's a little choppy sometimes, but I can hear.
Okay, thank you. And I know Commissioner Stackhouse, you put, you're having a hard time hearing. Is it just the volume from us in the room, or is it because it's choppy?
You're clear right now for me.
Okay.
Yeah, it got a lot clearer now. So I can hear now.
Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate that before we continue and have any silence.
Okay, so commissioners, we've got a motion to approve the minutes from August by Commissioner Heath. I need to get a second so we can move forward.
I'll second.
Great, thank you. And so we have a motion, a second. So all in favor of approving the minutes from August, say aye.
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 And sounds like we have approval, so very good. All right, public comment. This portion of the meeting is for items that are not on the agenda. The commission cannot act on items presented during the public participation of the agenda. The commission is prohibited by open meeting law from discussing and or considering the item until the item is officially placed on the agenda. Please limit comments to 5 minutes. Do we have any public comments at this time? Okay, doesn't look like it. Going once, going twice. I have no public comment at this point, so we'll move on to our first agenda item. Agenda item number 6, which is our Observatory Mesa Trail Plan. Information only. Robert.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Good evening, everyone. My name is Robert Wallace, and I'm the Open Space Supervisor for the City of Flagstaff. It's great to be here with you all tonight. And I'm here to provide you with an informational update on the Observatory Mesa Trail Plan. We currently do have a survey open as well, so if commissioners do have feedback on the plan, we'd love to hear that. I just put the link there in the chat if you want to view the plan while we chat or take a look at the survey as well. So, on the next slide here, you'll see the location that we're referring to. So hopefully everybody's aware of where the Observatory Mesa area is located. It's over on the west side of town. And we've been working on a trail plan for the past few years for this natural area. So it's shown there in light green. As you can see, downtown is to the right. The BNSF Railway is to the south. That's also where Railroad Springs neighborhood is located. And then to the west is where the A1 Mountain Road is, giving access to that kind of far parcel to the west. And then Cheshire and the Fort Valley neighborhoods are kind of located to the north, kind of northeast of that kind of light green area. As you can see, it's somewhat checkerboard. So this plan is a multi-jurisdictional plan. We work with the Forest Service and Low Observatory on this plan, and as a result, I think it's a really solid plan. And there's a lot of access kind of currently for the roads, and kind of can see. But we don't have a lot of trails, so I'll show you that kind of as we kind of continue. But that's it. So the next slide. Thanks. So I'm kind of just going to briefly kind of go over some of these points, but I'm going to talk a bit about the background and history of the natural area, tell you a little bit about the plan development to how the proposal was developed, go over the plan's purpose as far as the description for the needs for this particular site. Just briefly share the public process that we've been through, spend a little bit of time reviewing the actual plan, and then just kind of share a little bit about our next steps and opportunity to provide feedback through that public survey. The survey is open through the 18th of October. We also have a public meeting coming up on the 19th. That's this week, Thursday. If you want to attend, feel free to join us. We're going to be at the main public library downtown, 5 to 7. Next slide. Just a real brief bit of history here, but we purchased the property in 2016. We used some voter-approved 2004 bond funds to help purchase the property along with a Growing Smarter grant in 2013. And then an important point to kind of note is that the Arizona Parks does have a conservation easement over the property, and it does require the preservation of land for conservation purposes, as well as allowing passive recreation. Current recreational opportunities, you kind of see the trail coming from the park over to Railroad Springs there, and then a portion of the Flagstaff Loop trail coming out of North Tilly and connecting to the Foots Trail. That's in total about 5.8 miles. So our work really began with the development of our management plan for the property. And then we worked with our partners to assess like how we can manage the property and what really the public wanted to see on this particular location. Next slide. Our work really began, I think, in 2017 when Flagstaff Trail Initiative put a public survey together. And they did a great job. Their mission, by the way, is to take Flagstaff trails from great to extraordinary. They did a public survey. They got over 1,700 comments, and 120 of those were about Observatory Mesa. It was one of the top areas commented on, and that was distilled into these 5 recommendations that you see here. So to construct a new stacked loop system, connect Fort Valley and Observatory Mesa for a commuter trail, adopt unauthorized trails on Lowell Observatory property as part of the trail system, evaluate unauthorized trails for closure and naturalization, and connect the Fort Valley Foots with a commuter route as well. So when we considered this kind of baseline data, and we took the first steps to complete internal scoping and planning from this survey. On the next slide, you'll see plan objectives. We drafted our trail plan objectives to incorporate strategies to benefit the preservation of the area and wildlife, and develop these goals as well. Being to design a trail plan for the community based on feedback, to reduce the impacts of motorized use of the natural area and to work towards a non-motorized system, to address unsustainable unauthorized trails, to improve environmental conditions, to provide a variety of experiences to accommodate the desires of the community, and to improve safety and wayfinding with increased signage and information incorporated within the formal process. On the next slide, you'll see what our internal scoping consisted of. We did a current conditions assessment, which I believe I've got a map coming up that you'll be able to see. And then we identified issues, constraints, and opportunities that included the location of archaeological sites. For instance, we put a 500-foot buffer around archaeological sites, watersheds, wildlife corridors. We consulted with Arizona Game and Fish, ecologically sensitive areas. And then on the next slide, you'll see a continuation of our partnerships with our land managers, coming up with the best management practices for the area, working with the United States Forest Department and Lowell Observatory, Arizona Game and Fish, Arizona State Parks, and our local fire department as well. We also considered invasive weed spread. We surveyed the property and have kind of come up with a plan for beginning that invasive weed treatment before any type of implementation were going to take place. And we did a lot of reviewing of our internal documents as far as our conservation easements and our management policies, and took all that into consideration in developing this plan that you're about to see. On the next slide, you can see some information here on the current conditions. We have a trail counter kind of up above Thorpe Parks. We know we get at least 20 to 30,000 visitors a year. There's a broad array of recreation as far as mountain biking, hiking, horseback riding, cross-country use in the wintertime. We do have minimal trails, minimal access, and a lot of the recreation that has been occurring up there is somewhat unmanaged. So this plan would help mitigate that unmanaged recreation and come up with an authorized trail system for this entire location. The next slide, you'll be able to see our current conditions map. So a bit of a spaghetti there, as you can see. So we went out and did an assessment of what roads are in existence. There's approximately 8 miles of unauthorized trails, around 27 miles of existing roads. Some of those are authorized and some of them are unauthorized, and 2 authorized parking areas. So quite a bit going on up there for only a true 5.8 formal trail section. And we did partner with Lowell to do an assessment on section 17. That's the area in the pink there that you see is right up against Thorpe Park. So we've included an assessment for that area. They do have probably some of that most heavily impacted area because they're so close to town. A lot of people do get up and utilize the property for hiking. On the next slide, you will see some of the processes and considerations that we took while planning. So in the process of looking at all the web of roads and trails, we had to consider which were sustainable, which provided nice loops for people, which roads and trails should be restored to their natural state. We also had to take a look at what people were using in the mesa, where we need more directional signs, whether or not it makes sense to incorporate single directional or single use trails, such as like trails that would maybe be specific just for equestrian use or biking. We looked at adaptive mountain biking, and we looked at a little bit about e-bikes and whether or not they should be allowed in the entire system or contained to a certain section. And with all these investigations, we developed a first draft for public hearing. That's what you'll see on the next slide. So this is the first draft that we developed here. I'm not going to go into the too details because I think you'll probably be most interested in what we have here, the final. This kind of just give you an idea of kind of the iterations of our plan. We had a public comment period, and then on the next slide, you'll see how that first draft changed into draft 2. Quite a bit reflection from first draft to second draft. Mainly, most of our input was about additional neighborhood buffer, elimination of private property partnerships, reduction of proposed access points, things like that. And then we went out and we revised the plan according to that feedback, and we came up with another draft, and you'll be able to see that on the next slide, I believe. Shows you the transition between the second proposal and the revised proposal. So that has quite a bit of changes on it. It's quite a bit of reduction of trail miles, reduction in what I call parallel routes, where we have a road and a single track trail. We hear a lot from the community about trying to use the existing roads that are out there as trailways to reduce our overall impact on the natural area. We then took this draft to the Open Space Commission for their input as well. You can see that in the next slide. Yeah, so there's the third proposal and then the final proposal. Not a lot changed between the third proposal that we drafted with public comment and the Open Space Commission's recommendation. The main change is that we eliminated one trail, the 3.36 there in that southern section. That section.
Section 18.
Section 18, yeah, thanks. So we eliminated 3.36 due to concerns of some of the natural type of habitat that particular route runs through. This final plan also includes a little bit more information about funding, enforcement, management, multi-directional use, and e-bikes. So what does our final plan include? On the next slide here, you'll see that the plan includes a 3-phased approach. Some of these details are actually in the document you can see on one side. 3-phased approach for project implementation and a section for long-term strategies. So the plan priorities include alignments that provide a range of outdoor recreational experiences management guidelines for a final completed trail system, and recommendations for restoring currently disturbed areas and unauthorized trails. The proposed plan also provides a higher density of trail loops near formal access points and where people use trails the most frequently. It also identifies longer loops for more remote experiences and designates areas with no new trails to hopefully protect habitat for wildlife and for migration. So some of the allowed uses where we landed for this final draft is that the plan proposes all roads and trails to allow passive multi-use activities. So that would include hiking, trail running, horseback riding, and mountain biking, with the exception of horses being allowed on foots. Horses are not allowed on foot system. And trail and road alignments create a variety of loops to provide a range of desired activities for those different types of users. Class 1 and 2 e-bikes are proposed to be able to continue to be able to use those on the existing roads and foot system, but not on the single track. The trail system will be multi-use and bi-directional. So meaning you travel either way on those trails, and that both bikes and hikes and hikers and that sort of thing are allowed on the trails. So each trail will be open to those uses. Trail loops for adaptive mountain biking are identified to be constructed at 40 inches, and those are kind of highlighted green trails that you can see on that plan. And there'll be associated signage with that total of 7 miles of new trails that are proposed for the adaptive mountain biking, with opportunities to expand that mileage using the foot trail and the adopted roads. Trails 5.2 and 5.26 will be designed and constructed to provide intentional experiences for biking while remaining open to other allowed uses. Trail kiosks are planned and will include maps of the trail system and messaging related to resource protection and proper trail etiquette. Approximately 18.5 miles of additional natural surface single track trail take place. In addition of another formal access point, which will result in a total of 7 access points in the natural area. Additional parking for residents and visitors along the Route 66 near the Public Works Yard at the western boundary on also on the western boundary on Forest Road 515. That would be access to the 81 mountain there. That's we also looked at restoration as well, which is that part of the plan that I'm excited about, since there's so many like roads and trails that kind of lead nowhere and do damage to the natural area. So we selected 4.5 miles of unauthorized trails to be restored and 10.5 miles of unauthorized or abandoned roads to be restored. And then this final plan also looks at implementing 2 educational zones for interpretive signage for the purpose of increasing student and adult awareness for environmental and cultural historic significance. Thanks. So next steps, we have a final public meeting coming up that I mentioned this week, the 19th, at the downtown Flagstaff Library, where people can drop in at any time between 5 to 7. We'll be showing the final draft, and we'll also have a number of stations set up where folks can move from station to station about particular issues, learn about the plan, give their feedback. There'll also be an online community survey. It's open for 40 days where people can provide feedback. Depending on your feedback, depending on the feedback that we receive, our next steps will be then to take that back to the Open Space Commission for reconsideration. Or possibly just move on to City Council if everything's looking good. So we will let you know when that day happens. And I think on the next slide, it's just questions and comments. So happy to take any input that you have or answer any questions.
Have any questions? The other commissioners, Councilmember Harris. I have a few. So how did you determine what trails to abandon and do restorative projects on? And then what is the restorative process?
We're working with Southwest Decision Resources. They have a trail expert there that we've been working with, and they did an in-field assessment of the alignments to look at things like amount of use, whether it goes anywhere, whether it provides an experience, and also like alignment for grade and terrain. Like, is the trail too steep to be maintained, or does it erode easily? Is it through a sensitive environment, that sort of thing? So that's how we did an assessment for what should be restored and what should be kept.
Okay.
What was the second part of your question?
What is the process for restoring it?
Where there are no cultural resources, and on the city's property, we will likely rip the road prepare a new seedbed preparation about 4 to 6 inches deep. Physically block the trail with down material, and then reseed. In other areas, like on Forest Service property, some of that might be simplified, like if there's an archaeological site or lack of funding where we just block the trail and we don't actually do any reseeding, and then we kind of hope that it reseeds over time.
I see. And then another question I had, I remember there being an issue with that access through Hidden Hollow and that neighborhood. Has that been resolved as far as easement goes?
There's another agenda item on City Council tomorrow that provides access through the Hidden Hollow neighborhood to some privately owned properties on the east side of Section 6.
Mm-hmm.
So that's currently under City Council's review.
Nice.
That access is a public right of way currently, so you could potentially walk on that public right of way to gain access to Section 6 currently. So I think the agenda item for City Council, I don't want to get too far into it here, but is more or less amending that easement. So that easement is in perpetuity, so that's going to stay.
Okay.
But I think you might be referring to also we have proposed access in the Linwood Heights area. They own some private property there. We thought that could be another access point for their community and for the Chester area community that they were interested in. So that has not been continued.
You did it anyhow.
Some people do, yeah, for sure.
That is a lot
Yeah.
better access.
Yes. Yeah. If they're ever interested in the future, we're always ready and able to have that discussion.
Right.
For now, it's not on the table.
Okay. Anyone else has their hand raised? So what is the process? Have you determined like phasing for implementation?
Yes, yeah. So we have 3 main priorities. So if you open the map, or I can actually open it, take you through it if you like.
Get to this final draft right here, Robert, increase it.
Yeah, the one in the chat there, you know.
Oh, go to the chat.
Sorry, that's okay, I got it.
Okay. Stop sharing.
So anyway, I'll chat while I'm pulling this up for you. But in the plan, we've identified 3 priorities. So we tried to focus on the priorities that would make the biggest effect quickly, closest to town to like provide use now, and then we kind of we expanded out from that point. Let me share this. The plan is somewhat dense, it's 65 pages, but a large portion of our material we moved into the appendix. So that's more like stuff that supports the plan. So it's not too bad to digest. There is an executive summary that you can read just in a couple of pages. And then you'll see here, trail system implementation plan priority. So we broke this up into 3 different priorities. This map is for priority 1. So it kind of focuses on providing additional access to section 8 and section 18, those being kind of closest to the community. And then priority 2 looks more at the trail system that we had kind of planned for section 13, and then making that connection on the 5.12 route that you can see there, the Fork Valley Trail System. And then priority 3, mainly that it would be doing a lot of our restoration type work. And then we do have long-term priorities 2, which are the ones that are a little bit more challenging. Those include our continued partnership with Lowell. They're definitely interested in partnering and continuing to allow trail access on section 17. They just have to figure out kind of their master plan and also the direction for their congressional bill. And then this kind of long-term access or long-term planning also looks at providing some additional access points underneath the railway. So those can be challenges.
So when you talk about signage, what do you envision as far as the signage goes? And because the one thing I really like that Sedona's implemented recently on a lot of their trail systems, each of the where the trails cross, they have a map there, tells you where you're at, which trail goes where, and if you're a mountain biker, whether or not that's a black diamond, a blue diamond, intermediate, and all that. So, I mean, you don't even need to take a map with you when you go hiking down there because you know exactly how far the trail goes and where it goes and how difficult.
Yeah, there's been a lot of work on trail signage.
Yeah.
You can read about it more in the plans, but just kind of basically, we've been planning on kiosks at the main entry points. Not for the neighborhood access points.
Right.
But that would provide rules and regulations and also maps. And then we do plan to provide signage at the intersections. We haven't determined exactly what those signs are going to look like, whether it will be just names and refer to like a paper map or actually having a map. But I do like the idea of having a physical map that helps to find your way around.
Oh, yes. Especially for me, I get lost up there all the time.
Yeah, and then with the community also utilizing online type maps too, that is a good opportunity. The Venza map that we use for Flagstaff would be wonderful if we could do trail system for that. So that looks.
Yeah, or update the maps and like all trails or MTV project or something like that. Yeah. Good. That's all I had. Does anybody else have any questions? I feel like that means only one ask.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Stackhouse. I had a quick clarification question. I heard you say something about e-bikes and did you say they aren't or are allowed on these?
The Foots Trail, which is marked there in the yellow, that comes up from Thorpe Park and drops down to Railroad Springs, you can currently take an e-bike on that, a class 1 or class 2. The Forest Service technically doesn't allow e-bikes on their single track trails. So we decided to go the direction of only allowing e-bike class 1 and class 2 on that foot section and on those dark red sections. Those are considered roads currently. Not all of them are currently maintained, although the plan does include language about maintaining those for e-bike traffic and for other users. So it would be that road system that you see there and the Foots trail system, but not the kind of dashed purple lines, the single track trails.
So when you say class 1 and 2, are those the pedal assistive or are those the like twist the handle kind? I guess I'm not clear on that.
Class 1 and class 2 are what we currently allow on our foot system. So there's the pedal assist and it caps the mileage at a certain mileage. I can't remember how fast they go. So also remember that 25 miles.
I got you. Okay, thank you.
Well,
Councilmember Harris, I saw you had your hand up a moment ago. Do you have a question?
No, I was going to make a comment.
Okay.
And I think I might have figured it out, but I'm not sure. So So in terms of signage on the trails, are, are the signs, and I can't remember, are they like symbols or is it actual words that describe whatever it is you're trying to tell people?
I think we're planning to include both. We don't actually have drafts for the signage as of yet. But if you've been over to Picture Canyon, we probably do something somewhat similar, where we have main kiosk signs that have both symbols of what, for the rules and regulations, and also like a map, a visual map. Probably some text as well. And then throughout the preserve, in the educational zones, we would potentially have some interpretive signage there that might be a little bit more text heavy. And then throughout the trail system, we'd have directional signs. We haven't drafted exactly what those look like, but we would likely try to include both a visual map and also like signals for direction, like arrows or whatnot.
Okay, I was just, just want to remind us that everyone who uses the trails or comes up to the northern part of the state to enjoy all that we have up here are really not experienced trail hikers, and they may not really understand all of the different symbols and stuff. Sometimes people just, oh, let's go hiking in the mountains, and they really don't know what they're doing. And so that's how folks get lost and stuff. So I was just wondering.
Yeah, thanks so much for the comment. And yeah, we'll definitely be thinking about that. Hopefully when you get the implementation phase.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else have anything they want to comment on or question?
Oh, I'm putting into the chat right now just a link for a website for accessible kiosk and a accessible rating system for trails, just as a resource if you'd like to check it out.
Very good. I don't see anyone else having their hand raised, so with that, thank you, Robert.
Great. Yeah, thanks so much for listening and learning about the plan. Yeah, please tell your constituents that the plan is currently up for review. We'd love to get as many comments as we possibly can. I'd encourage you guys all to take a look at the survey as well. And if you have comments, let us know.
Show up to the meeting on Thursday.
Yeah, that'd be great.
5 o'clock at the
Good.
library, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Flagstaff.
Great, thank you.
All right, you guys have a nice evening.
Well, I guess we'll move on. The J. Lively Activity Center, maintenance, closure, and future projects. Is that you, Tyrone?
That's going to be me for today,
Alright.
so we'll jump into it. Yeah, I'm Tyrone Johnson. I'm the recreation manager here with Pros Division, and so good evening, everybody. Now we'll jump in this and go through it. This won't quite be a Robert Wallace or Amy Hagan type presentation. But yet still, we'll try and get you out a little bit of information and tell you a little bit about the closure and whatnot. And so each year annually, we have, you can go to the next slide. We have an annual closure at J. Lively. Hey, it's nothing with you, it's probably how I set this up. So with our annual closure, it's a lot of deep cleaning of the facilities, floors, restroom, locker rooms, top to bottom. There'll be painting, scrubbing, sanding down benches and restaining. The ice maintenance itself on a typical annual year, they'll take the ice down to the lines, they'll take the lines out, re-put the lines in, and then build back up the ice. They'll do that with all the markings on the ice surface. And then this is also a time for us to get any facility maintenance, big projects that we need done because the facility is closed to the public. And normally it's a 2 to 3 week time frame for the closure. This past year, we did a 4-week closure because we wanted to take the ice all the way down to the concrete surface and really get a visual on the concrete surface and see what was there, because we had some cracking in the concrete on the outside and the inside, right outside of the rink. And so this year we wanted to take it all the way down to the concrete to expose it and see. So on the next slide, we'll just kind of go through what it entails to really remove the ice so everybody can have an idea. Go to the next one.
Do you not normally remove the ice all the way down?
No, it hasn't been removed all the way down in over 10 years at least. And so, and with Dan over there being a hockey guy, being lifelong on ice and stuff, he's really trying to get us on a maintenance schedule to where we can do it more frequently, because it should be done every 2 or 3 years. And so we were well past due. And so with this, we went all the way down to the surface. And so typically what you got is your exam will come in, and then you're just taking the ice, taking it down layer by layer, all the way until you get to the lines. Once you start hitting the lines, that's typically when you're going to stop with the exam. Then you'll see here we were pulling up, we had vinyl lines in there. And with the vinyl lines, you know, if the exam catches it, it rips it and all that good stuff. And then we have areas in there to where the concrete was higher in some points because the ice buildup was higher. So you hit the concrete faster in some points. And so once you got there to the lines, we started with the Zamboni, and then we had to bring in like a Kubota. We had to bring in a Bobcat. We were manually breaking the ice with ice picks and shovels and moving it. And so that whole process, we were really trying to obviously get down to the surface, but then where we were disposing it, we had a Zamboni bay. And so a lot of it was being pushed into the Zamboni bay. We did have some like little turbo burners and whatnot to try to help melt the ice. We had some water running to melt the ice, and just the drainage area itself wasn't that great. And we didn't want to put all that ice on the outside. And so that's why we elected to do it this way. A lot of rinks have areas to where when they do this, because they may do it annually or, you know, every 2 years, they have areas where they push the ice and it's like a big melting pot and everything. And so unfortunately, we didn't have that, so we had to be innovative and try and do it as best we could.
I would have thought that they would have implemented like a drain system within the rink itself so that you could just warm up the area and let it melt kind of over time.
You know, it's an old sheet of ice.
Yeah.
That used to not be covered. I don't think that was a thought in their mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then once we get down all the way to the surface, before you put ice back on, you know, you got to pressure wash, you got to scrub, you got to make sure that the surface is clean and spotless before the buildup. And so as we got down to this area, we also were able to get our eye on the concrete itself. Look, this is the team that got it done. So just wanted to give him a shout out because it was a lot of work to really be in there banging that out and getting it done. But that's our team up at J Lively Activity Center. And so, but you know, once we got down to the concrete, we could really see kind of what we were looking at, because before with the chillers and everything on the outside, we had heaving of the concrete on the north side. And then each year, I guess we have a heaving and thawing type thing. And on the inside, on the northwest side of the building above the Zamboni Bay, we started getting some of the foundation cracking and coming up and heaving. We had the dasher boards that were going up and started to come apart. So we really didn't know what we were going to get into when we got down to the concrete and in there. So we started on the outside and started just digging. Yeah, go to the next one. And then, you know, we hit ice right away. This was a multi-department effort. Parks was out there and they were hand digging, and then they were hitting the ice, and then they tried to hand jack and wasn't going anywhere. And so we seen that we had a bigger problem. We had the ice that was probably, what would you say, 8 inches around the pipes.
At least,
At
yeah,
least.
some spots.
What are we
14
looking
inches.
at exactly here?
Those are the chiller lines, so they're on the outside of the ice rink.
I see.
Those go from the chiller units. Gosh, probably over 200 linear feet, make 2 right turns and go into the rink.
Oh,
That's where we had heaving concrete, and when we exposed the concrete, as Tyrone said, then we found enormous amounts of ice all the way around the chiller lines.
wow.
And so as we continued to try to dig out, we had to get some hydro pressure to really get in and try and help melt the ice quicker and everything. And what you're seeing now is more of the chiller lines exposed. A lot of the insulation was rotted out and from being stuck in kind of that moisture and that entrapment. And so came through and got it all cleared out. And then this is that first right angle if on the north side of the building. And then on the next slide, you'll see here is where it comes into the building. And this is part of the damage that we were seeing on the inside coming from here, from this stem wall foundation damage to where when it obviously freezes and expands, it was pushing up. And then we seen that we were looking to see if that same type of damage we'd find on like that surface itself. And fortunately, we didn't find quite that much damage on the surface itself because it's 2 different slabs that were poured. And so we were able to go in and get some of the stuff taken care of in terms, we had Black Hawk Construction. They were going through and marking all the areas that were cracked, and it was still quite a significant amount of cracking on the ice surface itself. And then what you see kind of that grid up top on the top right, that's kind of like the piping grid. It was starting to become exposed. And so what he did, he came through and he filled in all the cracks and everything in some of the low spots with like this epoxy that should be strong and firm, and we should be good for a while. That bottom right picture is how the dashboards were starting to separate because of the heating on the inside when we would have the freeze cycle and then of course thaw cycle. So then after we got everything all exposed, they came in and they started putting new insulation in and really looking to wrap it up insulated. And then for the time being, what they put back over, we have, what's the, that we put back over just?
We did like a, just a surface, kind of shored up the sides and just did a plate on top. So that way we can easily access these chiller lines again. Cause we didn't expose all roughly 200 plus linear feet of it. That would have taken, the ice rink would have been closed for months. So we do have access to it with this image that Tyrone's showing. We've got access to that. Cause we found some valves in there that no one, I think were from the late 70s or 90s, somewhere in there, we don't know, that weren't functioning. But it really enabled us to get some new insulation around both there's hot and cold lines that run through here.
Is there any additional drainage structures that went in there to help remove some of the water so it doesn't build up ice?
Well, we don't know what's causing it. What's interesting is, don't know because if the pipes, the chiller lines have glycol in them. So if there was a glycol leak, we would know that.
Right.
But so it's really hard to tell what's causing the ice buildup around the pipes. That's also why we wanted to just plate the top of it and keep some of it exposed. Can we watch the ice actually grow?
Right.
Or what is it that's causing it? No one honestly knows.
And we did leave a sump pump in there, so as stuff fills up, it can go ahead and drain out. It doesn't have to be sitting in, standing water and whatnot.
Makes sense.
And so, we did have other areas of the facility too that we addressed. And so when you look at the next slide, you're gonna see some of the hazard areas. We had some areas that were identified as high hazard areas that needed like immediate attention. And so you're seeing right here up top, kind of in front of the benches, the spectator benches, and then the one on the right is just one side of like the player benches and whatnot. And so, that was one big project. We will have another project for the rest of the flooring that will be coming up this fiscal year. We had the approval for that, and we'll look to move forward this May to go ahead and get the rest of the floor so everything is seamed up and we don't have any tripping hazards, so we don't end up wearing this and then try and get something new and have the same issues. So this is the pipes, fully wrapped going in, and then on the right, this is when they were finishing up the ice. We had somebody come out of Texas, I believe it was, and then he actually did the painting of the ice. So we had to get the first layer, like the first 1/16 of an inch down and everything. Then he came in and he did the painting of the surface, the white paint. He did the line this year instead of doing vinyl. We went ahead and painted everything. And so he came in and painted the logos. This gentleman did them as well, and everything just really pops more. A lot of people were pleased with the finished product and just the way it looked. We do have 4 logos on the ice at the bottom and then 2 in the middle in the center ice. And that's some of the user groups that utilize the facility more when you talk about youth hockey, Avalanche, figure skating club, FYHA, and then also NAU, and of course us. So, then that next slide is just some adult skates after it's been done, just soon after, just enjoying the facility. And the last slide, just pros. I try to be fancy, and you can actually, if you hit play on there, I think it'll do a quick panoramic of it. See, we try to be fancy a little bit. So that was the surface right after it finished, and appreciate Sarah over at marketing for getting a lot of these up. And so, what this really brought to light is something that we knew, but it really brought it to the forefront in terms of our drainage issues, in terms of our chillers and them being underground. And so with leadership, we're going to have discussions as to, what's going to be best for this facility, how can we best operate? Do we look at relocating the chill lines and have them going at a shorter distance? Do we look at bringing them out of the ground and, keeping them above the ground?
Could you kind of needing a new chiller as far as, I think we've had that on our agenda here before, is like don't you need upgrades to the chiller system or something like that?
There's 2 chillers there. They differ in age.
Yeah.
At some point in time, they're gonna run their lifespan. We continue to do a preventative maintenance plan with the mechanical company and repairing as we can, because when the time comes, those are some large capital project requests that Tyrone and I would have of the city's budget team, because I bet it would exceed $1 million for 2 chillers. There's also the cooling towers that exist on site too, which are also an expensive mechanical item.
Councilmember Harris, I see you got your hand up.
Yes, sorry, I had to find my mute button. Okay, so a couple of questions and then a couple thoughts. And so how old is the center? Jay Lively.
I don't have exact dates, Council Member Harris, but I believe the outdoor ice rink was developed in the early 1970s. and has had some renovations done along the way. In 2010, what it was enclosed, I'm not sure at what time, but I believe in the 90s, if not sooner. In 2010, the roof did collapse on it with a large 2010 snow event. And so some additional repairs were made at that time to get it back open, quite honestly.
Okay. And then, so, I guess where I'm trying to go is that how much life is left in the building? In the
Great
facility?
question.
You know, it's a difficult building to assess. I do know our facility maintenance team has had assessments done on every single city facility. So almost 100 facilities. We're excited to start to review that assessment. I can guarantee you it needs some major repairs. It's been patchwork together over the decades, so I'm sure it's going to be due. We do know eventually there'll be some large mechanical replacements to occur to keep an ice rink running in northern Arizona. So I think that the recreation staff do an amazing job keeping it clean, doing the preventative maintenance, requesting when they need items repaired. I think eventually we're gonna come to a crossroads, just like any other city-owned facility that's aged or aging is gonna be in need of some larger repairs, without a doubt, at this location.
Okay. And then, so have we, and you all know more about ice and rinks than I will ever know. But, it seems like we've got some places around us, relatively close to us, in terms of proximity mileage, that probably have ice rinks and stuff. Have we thought about getting an outside consultant to come in and kind of take a look? And I'm not saying that our staff is not professional or have expertise, but sometimes fresh eyes on a project does wonders.
So what we have done is, we had the exterior of the building, we had that entire drainage area, reviewed. We have a set of drawings from, landscape or, actually just the architect and structural engineer. And then that was going on while we discovered this chiller line problem and that ice buildup. So we've got a full set of drawings. We're getting an estimate of what those probable costs would be, so that way the drainage could be managed on the outside of the building. Because every day we're using the Zamboni, scraping ice, putting it somewhere. And then when we have any weather events, the entire exterior definitely feels any weather. So we got that design done, which is great. Don't have total costs just yet. Those are occurring right now. But we also said, well, wait a second, you can't really go to the city's budget team and say, let's repair all these things on the outside, when we know there's a problem with chiller lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're reviewing that too. We were lucky that the architect has a design division on the East Coast that actually works with chiller lines and ice rinks.
Good.
So working through that too, like Tyrone mentioned, do we change where these chiller lines are, those big white insulated pipes that were in those images? Do we bring inside the facility? So then they're not even underground. Or do we just have them on the outside of the facility? What do we do with them, and what is our best case scenario? So we're definitely looking at the facility from a mechanical standpoint, since we're creating ice, shaving ice, and then how does the ice and water drain and drain away from the facility? So we'll be calling the budget team, I'm sure, over multiple years, making requests for what these capital improvements would entail. Now, that's not the entire structure, right? I think that we're lucky that we had a roof structure rebuilt about 15 years ago, so we're lucky with that, knock on wood. And staff are maintaining the other pieces to the facility really well. And so I'm excited to see what this facility assessment entails and what will, so the city's hired an expert to go around to all city buildings and provide an assessment. That's gonna be on everything with your structure, with your roof, mechanical, you name it. Is there anything major that needs some attention? And it'll help us prioritize that too.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You. Well, and I see you have a new Zamboni maybe coming based on council's agenda tomorrow.
That was a couple weeks ago.
Was that a couple weeks
It
ago?
was, yeah, it was approved, yeah. An electric Zamboni.
Those are expensive, aren't
Zambonis are in general,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, you know, we have one from 1996, that's the backup right now, and one from 2014, so it'll last quite some time.
they? That's good.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any comments or questions for Tyrone? Council members?
Awesome.
We're okay. Well, thank you, Tyrone. It was very informative. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right, agenda back up for you.
So next on our agenda is an update on West Side Park.
I'll take that one out, have a fancy presentation like Tyrone had, or Robert. Just wanted to provide the commissioners an update. So a postcard mailer has gone out to both adjacent neighborhoods that are adjacent to the future West Side Park. That's the Boulder Point area and Woodlands Village area. That also went directly to their HOA. And then we also sent the postcard mailer to University Heights neighborhood. So the postcard's hitting about 1,800 residences. Not all single family, there's some apartments in there, there's townhomes mixed in there, there's single family houses. What the heck is the postcard? Actually, I will pull it up so I can share it here for everyone. We wanted to, it's a part of our outreach to the community to start to find out what the heck do you want in your park kind of thing. That's my only way to phrase that. Pros has been doing that historically now for a few years in really trying to engage with the community on what we want to hear from the community on what you want. That way it's not staff just making all these decisions. Here's front and back side of the postcard that went out. So through a consultant service that's working with the architect that we have hired for this project, they've got this QR code and it is a survey. I want to say it's rough, probably about a 5-minute long survey that these neighborhoods are being asked to take regarding the park itself. And you can see highlighted there in turquoise, that's the parks parcel, which I know this commission has been shown a handful of times. That's an image on the upper left-hand of one of the view sheds of the park. You've got one single spot where you got a perfect view of the peaks. And then in the green dotted line, that's the current foots trail that goes through the park that probably will be realigned with this. Also shows how the park's property's on a little bit of an island where it doesn't have direct access to South Highland Mesa roads. We've been working for years now with the HOA on gaining an access easement to the right of way. So that way this park would have that direct access. Me flip and show them the back side of the postcard that went out. Obviously the blank white side there for the address to be placed, but you know, the consultant put this together, so it's the opportunities for 1,800 residences to provide input. They can take the online survey, they can scan the QR code, take the survey, they can provide their email to ensure that they receive updates as we move along through this process, and they can participate in any upcoming on-site events. And we really want, the end result is we want those that are participating to provide input on a draft design for their park. So again, postcards have gone out. That's through Southwest Decision Resources. I do know out of just the HOA participating and doing an e-blast with roughly about 700 of those 800 residences. Within the first week, we had, I think, 90+ responses. I don't know how many we have today, didn't get an updated number, But I do think the community members are responding, and that's exactly what we needed. And then our next steps will be to start to create when those on-site engagement processes will occur for anyone to attend. Would love any commissioners to attend. Councilmember Harris would love it if you could attend too. I think this will be an interesting and fun process to go through the community. It will somewhat mirror the process that we did with Thorpe Park with the former space that the Public Works Yard occupied years ago. But it's a little bit different too, because it's a neighborhood classification of a park. So we're not talking about a ball field complex or a bunch of sport courts or anything like that. You know, the space will definitely have the typical features that any other neighborhood park has and deserves, with playground structures, with a picnicking ramada area, and that has a unique element where it's got a significant slope. So when you look up on this map at South Highland Mesa Road, and if you look down toward the Staples complex there, it slopes significantly. So it'll be really interesting to see what can we do with an interesting space like that and with the community's input. And some of that is hopefully expressed through the survey. And because one of the survey questions I do know asks, have you even been to the site? Like, go check it out if you haven't, because it may help you come up with some ideas to help us figure out how to develop the park. That's an update on where Westlake Park is. Again, excited to get some of these responses from the survey. Yeah, we'll keep going.
Is there a time frame for which people can take the survey, like a cutoff date, or just kind of ongoing, or?
I think it's ongoing is my understanding right now, but I have a feeling that we're gonna need to create a cutoff date along with the consulting group, so I can reach out to them on that. Because we will need a stoppage on the survey responses so we can move to the next steps.
Right. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Commissioners, council member?
Yeah, probably will continue to come back to the commission each and every time I have an update on where Westside Park is in the process, just to ensure that our commissioners are engaged on that too.
Yeah. And let us know if you will be participating in on-site meetings, so we know if we all have a quorum there or not. Very good. The next item, Arizona Parks and Recreation Conference.
So last month in late August, the annual Arizona Parks and Recreation Conference was held. It was in Tucson this year for 2024. Pro staff, we had about, I believe, 7 individuals attend between park staff, recreation staff, and our events and marketing coordinator also attended. Rebecca and I attended. It was probably one of the stronger conferences that I've seen as far as, I think, content and the sessions. There are a lot of educational sessions that a handful of our certified individuals will go to get those continuing education hours. One of the biggest things some of us as staff, and I can speak for myself, and Rebecca can too if she would like, is we were with our 5-year capital plan. We're going to have a need to start to talk to additional large general contractors that deliver large parks or large park amenities. So we really wanted to engage and introduce ourselves to some of those contractors that we know are a part of the conference. So there was some success there, which was great. Some of these large contractors might be on cooperative procurement agreements with the state of Arizona or otherwise, and have that expertise in physically constructing large parks. I talked to a vendor that does synthetic turf fields and running tracks that go around it. So when the commissioners, as all of you are aware of, the Cheshire Park expansion. So that was definitely one of the goals. was to start talking with vendors like that, because we know we have those future capital projects. We also had a goal to locate a vendor that does drone shows. As those requests continue to come into our events and marketing team, so there was some success there. Actually meeting with a drone show vendor this week and meeting with a synthetic turf and track builder this week too, on site at Cheshire. Yes, that was really neat. And there's a variety of sessions provided at the conference for everything for some of our coordinator level, for aquatics. There was even an events and marketing roundtable, parks maintenance roundtables, a park ranger group. That's how that first group was even developed, was from this conference the year before. So it still continues to be a very important conference for our staff to attend. So it's pretty neat. Any thoughts on that, Rebecca?
The drone shows, they actually not just had the vendors in the exhibit hall to meet with and talk to, but they actually put on 2 drone shows while we were there.
What is a drone show?
So it's literally taking drones, and it's an alternate that groups or in events are doing, definitely in lieu of fireworks, definitely in lieu of like a laser light show. So lights are attached to drones and all programmed, and it's wild to watch. I mean, 100 drones will be set up on the field, and when they click go and they've done some type of program, and they are up in the air and doing all these crazy cool illuminating designs for you to see. It's really cool stuff.
I'll see if I can bring up one of the videos and actually share it, if it will.
Sure, yeah, of the show from the conference.
I assume they highlight, like in some cases, like new technology as it relates to parks and.
There was some of that, and Gino and I, Gino Leone, our parks manager, was there too. He and I talked with a vendor which we talked to another one about, where they use GPS to stripe fields, like paint the lines, it doesn't matter if it's what sport. We found a different one because we've also talked about, well, gosh, it'd be cool if there was a robot that not only painted lines for athletic fields, but also could do striping in parking lots. So there's a vendor there. They're like, yep, ours is different. It can do the street striping for you too. With all of our parking lots and our park grounds, that piqued our interest. There's all kinds of vendors. Can everyone see? Here we go. Cool. I think that's the quick video there. Here it is. So there's their
highlights.
Okay. See, there they go up in the sky and then they're doing their thing. Wow. It's cool.
That is cool. I've only seen the drone racing on TV.
Which is also cool.
It's definitely an alternative that our events and marketing team and pros have been asked to start to investigate in lieu of fireworks for 4th of July, since we no longer do fireworks, and we haven't for, gosh, probably greater than 5 years almost by now.
Didn't they do a laser show out at Fort Tuthill or something?
We've done 2 laser shows in the past, one at Country Club and one at Fort Tuthill. That was our own signature event that we put on in 2023. And then this past year in 2024, there was no signature event or alternate at night. So something like this could come into play. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That is cool. What would be the cost for doing a show?
We'll find out. Depends on the magnitude, depends on the length of the show, depends on how many drones, all of that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments for Amy?
What do we have? We have an I love it, yes. Oh, yes. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Just wanted to get that.
You have my vote. I say let's never ever do another firework in life.
All right.
The drones are so much better.
Yeah.
Any other commissioners want to weigh in on that topic? No? Well, then we can move on and go back to Councilmember Harris for our city council liaison report. Councilmember Harris.
Okay, thank you. Glad to be back. We were on break for, seemed like for forever. And I know some people attended meetings while on break, but I was kind of preoccupied. So I don't have anything to report, but I will definitely support the drone show if that ever comes up for discussion. So anyway, but at this point, I really don't have anything to report. But if people have questions for me, I'm more than happy to answer anything that you might want to know.
Okay. Any commissioners have any questions or comments for Councilmember Harris? If not, well, thank you for attending, Councilmember. We appreciate it.
No problem.
So, oh boy, reports, monthly highlights of parks and recreation, open space and events. Look very interesting. The new field down over there at Thorpe Park.
Yeah.
Just saw it.
Yeah, a lot of new sod over at Thorpe Park, multi-purpose field. Parks team did an amazing job there and worked in coordination with events, marketing and athletics, because in the summertime, worked with one of our user groups, Flag Soccer Club, to find an alternate location with any of their summer programming for about a 5 to 6 week period, because that's the time frame that we really needed to get this done. And one step that was created before that we knew was an essential piece was when the parks team did the improvement with the locking movable gate at the multi-purpose fields and the new approach, because you can't keep individuals off the field, then it's really hard to physically close it and make that type of an improvement. So yeah, the turf is amazing out there.
Good. Did anyone else review the monthly highlights? Have any comments?
Here it is, Casey Bear wants to.
Oh yeah, the new playground at Ponderosa Trails. That looks nice.
Yeah, new playground structure is complete at Ponderosa Trails Park. Here's some images of it, and the community's really digging it, which is really neat to see.
When did that go?
That went in mid-August through that last week of August, and was complete.
Is that all new equipment or did anything existing remain?
It's all brand new equipment. All existing was removed.
Wow. That looks nice. Did
Yeah.
that go over budget or where were we as far as?
Yeah, so if you
Because we had $150,000, correct?
it's the annual budget, this was about $137,000.
Councilmember Harris?
Yeah, I'm just curious. What do we do with the old equipment when we remove it?
So the old equipment goes to what we call our boneyard at the park shop. So we do keep any pieces that are viable for parts or any reuse if needed, even if temporary, because we may have similar playground structures within the rest of the park system where those parts and pieces can be used. Now, if we start, I know Gino and the team in parks are going through that entire boneyard, and we'll start to discard any pieces that are not reusable or should not be reused, or quite frankly, just no longer needed. Unfortunately, older playgrounds, and this one was from, I want to say the early 2000s, maybe 2001 or 2002. They're not a good item to donate to others, if that's what you were thinking, Councilmember Harris.
No, I was just wondering what we did with them, because they're mostly made out of metal or something, right?
A lot of plastic,
Okay.
could be some steel and otherwise, but sometimes a lot of plastic. So we're starting to clean through some of that old boneyard inventory that will unfortunately need to make it to the landfill, but it is what it is at that point.
You've done Thorpe Park now, and Ponderosa Trails.
We did Cheshire Park
Yeah.
in 2018, 2019. Thorpe Park, just the tot lot there, and Ponderosa Trails, and we're getting ready this year to do Mobile Haven and Smoke Rise Parks there. More of their tot series, the 2 to 5 year old range, and adding a 2 to 5 year old tot playground at Continental Park. So yeah, that's that new piece there, and then here were some photos and some information on that resod project on quite a bit of the Thorpe multi-purpose field, which was an amazing project to do. The July trail counts are in there for everyone to enjoy.
What do you call it, Sinclair Trail, normally that high? Seems like that's something that.
That's a high number. I mean, it's a gorgeous trail, gorgeous segment of it. So yeah, a lot of visitors to it in the month of July. Yeah. With recreation, there was some information regarding the summer day camps that the recreation team hosted here at the Aquaplex, and some, how it started, how it ended up, where we met the maximum on that, and then, it was the first year that it was brought back in quite some time, and so staff are also doing kind of a lessons learned and what they learned, what can they change, and how can they make this even better next summer for kids in our community. Josie Montoya Community and Senior Centers received a donated piano. That's really lovely of someone to do. That's a photo of the new piano itself, plus some information regarding some new classes being held at Josie with Mountain Health Arts and the Making Music for Memory Loss, both really, really neat programs there, especially when we're gearing some programming toward dementia and folks with dementia and Alzheimer's. Hal Jensen hosted a back to school barbecue that was in that first week of August when our student population returned to school. That was very cool to see. I think it had about 160 youth attend. So that's simply an amazing thing to provide to our community. At Hal Jensen, the Tuesday night adult pickup basketball has been steadily increasing. So that's kind of cool to see that we've got some adults coming in and shooting hoops with the youth at night on Tuesday night there at Hal Jensen. They're also going to begin hosting the youth basketball on Thursday nights. And youth basketball, starts to begin here in November, which might be here sooner than what we think. There was a minor drainage project worked on at J. Lively, and I know we just went through some of that, but there was essentially a French drain installed at the back of the curb, where there are some ADA parking spaces there at the entrance of J. Lively, and then some routing of that drainage. So it's whenever there's any rain or snow events and the moisture that comes off the roof, that way we're getting the water out of the parking lot and taking it elsewhere. Open space we had the Arbor Day tree walk event that occurred in the month of August. And so that was a very neat walk and informational education piece that our open space coordinator, along with some others, put together. We welcomed our new open space educator, Ashley. So there's a picture of Ashley there by the pickup truck. So we're excited to have Ashley here and loved that. We thanked our AmeriCorps ELC member Desert for all of his service. He was an amazing colleague during the time. And so that's a picture of Desert there on the ground. We wish him well in his next adventures on that. And then as Robert was just presenting earlier today with the Greater Observatory Mesa Trail Plan and that public meeting coming up this week on Thursday. So some information was in there. There's some events and marketing and a lot of the marketing requests for the division in the month of August as we continue to ramp that up. Some information that we just discussed with the Arizona Parks and Recreation Conference and Expo, and some images of that drone show and how that was one of our goals. The events and marketing team are preparing for the winter Wonderland event that's held in December downtown and in Heritage Square. That's one of our signature events. So they're working with the Flagstaff Downtown Business Alliance and putting together all those preparatory needed items when we host something big like that, including a small road closure. Yeah,
Thank you.
month of August was packed.
Yeah, lots going on. Awesome. No one has anything they wish to comment on in regards to the reports, monthly highlights? Anybody? For once. All right, information items to and from commissioners and staff. I personally haven't, but does anyone have anything, any information items they'd like to throw out there?
I actually do. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Just wanted to let the commission know that our partners over at Coconino County Parks and Recreation are working on a Fort Tuthill master planning process. I today participated in a small kind of stakeholder meeting. They have a survey out right now, and there's a public meeting on Saturday, September 28th at 1 o'clock at Fort Tuthill. This is an important project for our partners and encourage our support and participation, as we will be requesting that of them when we do our master plan.
I can do that on my birthday.
Happy birthday. It's in the home economics building out there, which I think is one of the larger buildings by the offices.
I did want to thank Commissioner Heath for attending this evening. There will be 3 newly appointed commissioners tomorrow afternoon, evening with City Council. So thank you, Commissioner Heath, for the past 13 plus months. And thank you for attending tonight. It helped us get quorum tonight and for your last meeting.
Yes, thank you.
Thank y'all. It's been great working with y'all the past few months.
We appreciate your time. So, thank you again and good luck in the future. Agenda items for next meeting. I don't know.
I think that Reno wanted to possibly do a more in-depth review of that Ponderosa Trails playground replacement. We've got some awesome drone footage and videos. I think he wanted to do that, plus be able to talk a little bit more about those future ones that I mentioned at Mobile Haven and Smoke Rise. So we may have a presentation revolving around that. And then I know that we had talked about maybe a recap of all of the summer events. There's just one more large one to occur for our events team, and that's the Oktoberfest coming up in October. But I know we did a recap of kind of concerts in the park and some of those items earlier this summer. So you can always think about the importance of that, or if that's needed. And then, yeah, I can provide a Westside Park update if there is one. And anything else, our next meeting would be in October.
It might be fun to share all those comments.
Yeah, right. I'm sure I can share some survey results and some things from Westside Park.
What about the, do we have a month planned for the recreation survey results presentation?
That's right. That might be the other item that we could have in October. Tyrone could present on the results we did for a good couple months this summer, a survey on our recreation centers. So I know he's working with an intern with NAU on putting together that information and kind of crunching that data and making it into a presentable format.
Interesting.
It would. And we would also possibly have two new commissioners too
Yeah,
for that
I'd
meeting.
like to do an introduction, have the new commissioners do an introduction themselves.
And that meeting would be October 21st. Okay, meet my mother-in-law.
My mother-in-law will be visiting. I can bring her for a meeting.
Get some of the public audience.
She's got to control herself. All right. Well, that sounds good. If anyone else can think of anything over the next couple weeks or so, email Amy and Rebecca. We'll see about getting additional items on the agenda for our October meeting. Anyone have any final comments before we adjourn? All right, then I will say, let's adjourn today's meeting. It is 5:30. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Dang, it is cold in here. So just.
It is cool.